Welcome back to Shattering Myths. I'm your host, Yahowah. You can engage in the third hour's discussion, which is going to be on the Torah. We are going to turn the page. We're going to return to Yahowah's statements regarding his covenant. And if you would like to discuss the covenant, you are welcome to do so. Our number is 877-300-7645. The statement that we were considering yesterday is a powerful one. In fact, it speaks of empowerment. Once Yahowah told Abraham that he was establishing the family-oriented covenant relationship with him, and that he explained that one of the reasons he was doing this is so that we would come to know and understand who God is, but also how we can relate to him. And he even explained the whole nature of understanding, which is to make connections between the things we come to know. God went on to say, and because I yearn to continually increase and multiply you in the extreme and to the uttermost. Larry is on the line with us now. Larry, what does that mean to you? And because I yearn to continually increase and multiply you in the extreme and uttermost.
Well, to me, that means amplification. We're going right back to trumpets. You know, I mean,
or Shavuah. I think the one that you're really talking about more than anything.
Yeah, I meant Shavuah. Yeah, I meant weeks, first weeks.
Right.
And the empowerment that goes along with that. I mean, you know, you're talking about you're talking about being amplified to the 10th power. That's like a billion.
Yeah, in Shavuah, in Yahowah's presentation of Shavuah, he speaks of a tenfold enrichment and an empowerment. Tenfold is considered a magnitude in math and in science, and so I'm going to enrich you and I'm going to empower you tenfold is the presentation that he has in Shavuah, and he's saying that relative to our life here on earth. While we're still on earth, that he is going to enrich us and empower us tenfold. And coming to understand who he is, understand what he's offering, and to be part of that and to grow in your relationship with him is that tenfold empowerment that is associated with the promise of the Shabbat, which is Shavuah, weeks or sevens, if you prefer those names. Here, God is going beyond that. This is not in conflict with that, but this gets up into the billions of billions of billions of fold empowerment. This gets into the equation of E equals MC squared, that life with Yahowah as light, as his immortal sons and daughters, is going to be ma'od ma'od as it relates to Rabbah. And that means that we're going to be the speed of light times the square of the speed of light. I mean, it's the fastest thing that we can even fathom is the speed of light. And you're talking about multiplying the fastest thing we can even fathom, the fastest thing we can measure by itself. And that's the kind of multiplicity that is being conveyed here. So I think this relates, Larry, directly into the statement that Yahowah had made to Abram through example in their third meeting. Remember when Abram was saying, God, I just don't get it. You're telling me that I'm going to inherit all of this. Inheritance, speaks of father to son and the parlance of this period of time. It still does for the most part, although it's fathers to daughters as well, and mothers and fathers to daughters, if you will, in today's world. And he said, I don't get it. I don't even have a kid. So what good is that inheritance going to do to me? You know, I'm an old guy. I'm probably at that point, he was in his 80s or 90s. I'm an old guy, and I don't have a kid. What good is an inheritance? You keep on equating your covenant and the benefits of your covenant to an inheritance. What in the world am I going to inherit that's going to do me any good? And what did Yahowah do when Abraham made that statement? Do you recall?
He set him down and he ate with him.
No, he did that later. No, what he did is he said, all right, I can answer this question for you, but I'm not going to answer this question with words. I'm going to take you there. I'm going to show you what you're going to inherit. Yeah, what he did is he took him to heaven, and he took him so that he could witness the light of constellations of stars. And said, hey, man, I want you to look at the energy of these stars. I want you to consider light. I want you to consider spiritual life in heaven and how that equates to the light of the stars. That's your inheritance. Well, at that point, Abraham said, okay, my eyes have been opened. I get it. And he came back and said, as a result, I choose to trust and rely upon Yahowah. And Yahowah said, based upon now that you get it, you understand what I'm offering, and you've chosen to trust and rely on me to provide that you're going to be magnified from all the limitations of being physical, corporeal, to the inherent advantages of being light or energy-based. God says, I'm going to equate that to you as being perfect, as being vindicated, as being righteous. And so now what God is saying, and now God is using his words to communicate to Abram and to us what he had actually accomplished by taking Abraham to heaven and to the stars. Now he's saying, and because I yearn, I'm giving you my covenant, because I yearn to increase and multiply you in the extreme and to the uttermost. You see, he's just confirming now in words what he had previously shown Abraham. That's the benefit of the covenant, right?
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with looking at benefits. Sadly, most of the translations we're going to find are going to say things like, "Oh, and Lord, I wish to obey you for all eternity." It sounds like somebody's slapping you around upside your head, and you're just going to love to be in submission for eternity. Where, many times what is really being said is that, I'm going to enjoy the benefits you give me for all eternity. It's kind of an opposite thing or an opposite view. And again, I'll say that one of the biggest challenges we're ever going to have is getting people to realize that traditional religious copy edits are really designed to place you in submission and to really pervert the true nature of Yahowah and what the covenant and what the relationship is.
Now, I put you on hold there, Larry. Everything you've said is accurate, and I want to comment on it. The reason I put you on hold is that for the first time ever, we have a really bad connection, and we're getting intermittent communication. So I really do hope that you can call back maybe on a different line and that we have a better connection. It is true that a Lord puts his subjects down. He controls his subjects. He keeps them down because by keeping them down, he is elevated above them. And the Christian God acts in that manner. That's why people bow down and worship him, lifting him up, and while they are bowed down. That's the opposite of what God wants. And Larry's correct, and he's saying that the Christian religious perspective is a result of copy edits. That religious publishers, particularly Christian publishers, have knowingly and deliberately replaced Yahowah's name with the satanic title and name Lord, to give Christians a perspective that is the opposite of what's true. And a Lord doesn't lift up. A Lord does not empower his subjects. The Lord takes power away from them. Yahowah, as a father, wants to empower his children. The greatest joy that you can have in life is as a parent and doing things which enrich and empower your children. When your children grow as a result of something that you have done on their behalf, it is tremendous joy, tremendous growth, tremendous pleasure. And that's what God is offering as the Father of the Covenant. Now, let's look at these words. And again, Larry, I do hope that you're able to call back and we get a line that is better. Rabbah is the word that we considered at the end of our program yesterday. It speaks of the idea of multiplicity, of magnitudes, of amplification, the term that Larry adroitly used, of being increased. It's the basis of the Jewish religious notion that rabbis have been empowered to interpret the oral Torah, their own law. Torah does not mean law, but that's how they view their oral law, which is the arguments of men with other men, that they view themselves as being elevated above the ordinary common folk and empowered in this way. That's why they apply the term Rab to them. It does not mean teacher for those who have been misled. It means to be exalted, to rise, to increase one's value. Well, God says, I want to. That's what I want to do. I want to increase your value. I want to increase your merit. I want to increase your capacity. I want to do what every loving parent wants to do on behalf of their children. And this was written in the Hiphil imperfect cohortative. Now, we're going to speak of the Hiphil in a moment, but as it relates to the imperfect, as we discussed at length yesterday, the imperfect means that this increase, this multiplicity as it relates to what God wants to do on our behalf is ongoing. If it was in the perfect, he would say, I'm going to make you perfectly large, but that's going to be it. In the imperfect, it means what I want to do is continually increase your capacity, your ability, your stature. I want to make that something that has ongoing results which play out through the whole fabric of time. It's the perfect use of the imperfect from our perspective. As we consider this statement, which is wa rabba, ba, ma'od, which means, and because I yearn to continuously increase and multiply you in the extreme and to the uttermost, we've first come to recognize that mode was repeated, which means that we take this word, which means extreme, which means uttermost, which means to the greatest extent possible, and it's an increase in dimensions, and status, and power, and capability. And those are all related things, but different things. We're currently three-dimensional, stuck in the fourth, and the ordinary flow of time. So we're 3.1% in terms of dimensions. I think we're going to be 7 dimensions. Each added dimension is essentially an infinite increase as you moved from 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, and 6 to 7. It's an infinite increase with each additional increment. For example, three-dimensional constructs are infinitely more massive than a two-dimensional construct. Capability is the biggest issue of all. Capability to think, capability to understand, capability to observe, capability to travel, capability to explore the universe as light. Huge difference in capability. Status, you become God's covenant child. When you're God's kid, the entire universe is ours to inherit. On power, it's simply the equation of E equals MC squared. But beyond that, because E equals mc squared is still mired in a four-dimensional construct, it's going to be beyond even the multiplicitous aspect of the square of the speed of light. So all of these things, the greatest extent possible in power, capacity, dimensions, and status, are all being conveyed. And it was repeated, ma'ud, ma'ud. Now, ma'ud is an adverb. As such, it is modifying Rabbah. I will continually increase and cause you to grow forever. Now, the beauty of the imperfect conjugation in the use of the deployment of Rabbah to increase means that it is an eternal, ongoing benefit. God's intending to, because this is all now presented in the construct under the auspices of the Torah. I mean, of the covenant. His last statement was, okay, based on all of this, I'm giving my covenant to you. And then he says that by giving you the covenant, it's going to help you understand. It's going to have you know and understand who I am and what I'm offering. And then he says, and it's going to result in me being able to empower you, to constantly make you greater. And as we find here, to the greatest extent possible in power, capability, dimensions, and status. Well, so the imperfect means that this is forever. That we're going to be constantly growing. That God's desire is for us to be more tomorrow than we are today. Just as a loving parent wants to do with their children, except that, I can speak for myself. I'm pretty inadequate and pretty flawed, and the one who's offering this promise is not inadequate in any way, nor is he flawed in any way. He's capable of doing exactly this. And every day, throughout time, forever, in our covenant relationship with him, if we engage in the covenant, we're going to be increased. We're going to multiply to the extreme in status as his child, in dimensions, going from 3 and a small percentage to 7. And capabilities, what we can do, as well as power. Now, used once, mode would be fabulous in this context in terms of what God is offering us. This is something that Larry did convey, was the whole idea that here we have God telling us the benefit of participating in the covenant. It's okay for God to say, if you choose to participate in this covenant, I'm going to empower you in dimensions, status, capability, and energy to the greatest extent possible. It's okay. If he says, I'm going to make you super rich, it might be a bribe. If he's going to say, I'm going to satiate you so you get all the sex you can even imagine, it's probably not so good. If he says, I'm going to give you power over other individuals so you can hold them down and abuse them, that wouldn't be so good. That's not what he's saying. He's just saying, I'm going to make you more like me. Infinite in power, dimensions, capability, so we can be together and enjoy each other. Welcome back to Shattering Myths. Something that we've mentioned before, but it's worth mentioning again, that in Hebrew, to convey the idea of most or to the greatest extent possible, they don't say to the greatest extent possible or most. That's not the way the Hebrew language works in this regard. A word is repeated to create the multiplicitous nature of the concept. It's almost identical in this particular case to Einstein's E equals mc squared, that energy equals mass times the speed of light times the speed of light. It's the squaring of ma'od is what is being conveyed here. And of course that is really fascinating in that what God is explaining here is E equals mc squared. You are going to become multiplied at the square of the speed of light. That's precisely what he's saying here. And ma'od being repeated is like multiplying ma'od times ma'od, or the speed of light times the speed of light, indicating this relationship between energy and matter. I'm glad that this came up in the depiction of the myth of the Trinity, because it explains how Yahusha, as a corporeal manifestation of Yahowah, set apart from Yahowah, has to be hugely diminished. It has to be an extraordinarily small aspect of Yahowah, because it's Yahweh's spiritual energy and like light, and the individual is matter, corporeal. So it's a perfect time to describe that transition. It's also the transition that began to take place on Bikurim, when he became a celebration of the firstborn child, and it's symbolic of how Yahweh is going to return. He says, I'm returning as light. I'm not going to return in a corporeal form. All things for us to contemplate. But ma'od is repeated. That's a great example of this would be kodesh. Kodesh is the Hebrew word for set apart. The Spirit is always referred to as the set apart Spirit. So part of Yahweh's spiritual energy set apart from him, retaining its spiritual nature, because it's the spiritual manifestation of Yahweh's energy and the maternal aspect of his nature that is being set apart to serve us. But it's still spirit to spirit, just part of Yahweh's Spirit as the set-apart Spirit to serve us. When Yahweh refers to his corporeal manifestation, to the Son, to Yahusha, to his manifestation as Yahusha, he doesn't use Kodesh once, but instead twice. Kodesh, Kodesh, set apart, set apart, set apart squared, set apart multiplied upon itself, because now to become Yahusha, Yahweh has to, like with the set-apart Spirit, set apart some of his spiritual nature to manifest himself as an individual, but then he has to diminish that spiritual energy to represent it in corporeal form, in material form. So he is explaining the opposite here of what he's offering to us as his children. In Kodesh, Kodesh, the Son, the Yahusha, the corporeal manifestation of Yahweh, is Kodesh, Kodesh, where the Spirit is simply Kodesh, meaning that the Spirit, still Spirit, transition from Yahweh is still Spirit. It's just that it's part of Yahweh's Spirit set apart to serve us as the set-apart Spirit. While in the manifestations of Yahusha, which have occurred 6 times previously and will happen once more, Yahweh is saying that he is Kodesh, Kodesh, or set apart, Spirit of Yahweh, set apart from Yahweh, and then set apart to become matter, showing a diminishment to the same way that he is promising a multiplicitous effect for his children. It is the Bikurim Yahusha, by the way, that was manifesting aspects of this when he said, don't yet touch me. Don't touch me yet. Because at that point, he was more energy than he was matter, and said it would not be something be safe for us to touch. And it was the ability of him to go from that experience to the Father, and then to the road to Emmaus, and just appear with those guys some 60 stadia away, whatever that is in terms of miles, but a long distance away. And then to walk with them, have a long discussion with them, have dinner with them, and then I go back into the upper room and literally walk through, teleport, if you will, beam through the wall appearing in their midst. That's why no one who saw them that day recognized him. It speaks of this transition back to being more empowered, being energy-based. And so that's what God is communicating to us in this regard. And you're multiplying ma'od times ma'od to get a feeling for the increase that is going to be attributed to us, to the children of the covenant. So, like a loving Father, our Heavenly Father wants to help us grow so that we reach our ultimate potential. And nothing is more empowering or designates a higher status than being God's child, which is why this is the result of God giving us His covenant. That's why these things are tied together. By using Rabbah, especially ascribed in the imperfect, in the context of the covenant, our Heavenly Father is saying that He will consistently rear us, continually care for us so that we grow into perpetuity and reach our full potential over the entire fabric of time, becoming exceedingly greater than we are, not just as a one-time occurrence, but forevermore. He's not saying here that when we are free of our physical limitations and that we are energy-based and therefore light with Him in heaven, that one-time event, which is extraordinarily empowering and elevating in dimensions and capability, He's not saying that one-time event as a result of the benefit of the covenant is going to be the end of it. He would have used the perfect conjugation if that was His intent. He's saying that our capabilities, our power, our energy, our capacity in every respect in terms of knowledge and understanding and duration and time, that they were going to consistently increase. And he's beyond that, because he used the cohortative mood, he's saying that He's going to enjoy, and this is what He wants to do, is to do this for us so that we are constantly growing forever. So, by juxtapositioning Rabbah and Ma'od, we discover that Yahweh is not speaking about the quantity, I should say, of Abraham's descendants, but instead about substantially, demonstrably increasing Abraham's status from human child to God's sons. His dimensions from 3 and change, stuck as we are in time, to 7. His capacity or capability really, from matter to energy. His life from mortal to immortal. His wealth in the terms of things that are matter, from owning a flock of sheep to inheriting his own slice of the universe. The fact that Yah communicated Rabbah using the Hiphil imperfect cohortative speaks volumes. The Hiphil stem tells us that the subject of this verb causes the object of the verb to participate in the action as if they were a secondary subject. For example, Yada led you towards understanding. The direct object, you, participates in the action that the subject, Yada, caused. Now, since God is the subject of this promise, and we are the object, by we, I mean those who receive this covenant as a gift, are the object. It is by consistently engaging with God in His covenant that we are continually growing. our ongoing participation in the covenant with Yahowah enables our Heavenly Father to eternally empower us. We're growing right along with Him. And as you know, what that says, the fact that in the Hiphil-Sim, the object becomes a secondary subject, that means that this growth that is being offered as a gift to us as the covenant children is also being applied to Yahowah Himself. That by causing us to grow, by wanting us to grow, Yahowah grows. That's what the Hiphil-Sim does. Powerful. And by using it, you now understand why Yahowah created the universe and conceived life. That by wanting us and helping us grow to become infinitely more than we are, in every conceivable way, God grows because He enjoys the relationship that we come to enjoy together. That by helping us, He benefits Himself. There is nothing a person on this planet can do that is more enriching than helping their children grow, nurturing them, protecting them, teaching them, sharing instructions and guidance with them so that they grow and that they then can walk stride by stride, side by side, hand in hand, and we can have a conversation eye to eye, growing with each other, each of us growing together. Welcome back to the final 6 minutes of our 3 hours together today. We're going to continue to talk about how powerful this statement is with Yahowah telling us that His gift of the covenant is going to enable His desire, His yearning to continually increase and multiply us, the covenant's children, in the extreme and to the uttermost, to the greatest extent possible in energy, capability, dimensions, and status. As we were talking, the very fact that the rabba, which is the verb here, mode, are adverbs, thus modifying the verb. That rabba was scribed in the Hiphil imperfect cohortative. Stunningly important for us to recognize what that means in this case. In the Hiphil, there's a relationship between the subject and the object, where the subject enables the object to become a secondary subject. So what that means here is that Yahowah's ability and willingness to increase and multiply us causes Him also to grow. That He grows as we grow. And that we participate, we engage in this process of growing and of wanting to grow, because it was written in the cohortative conveying volition, that we want to grow with Him and we want Him to grow. That as a secondary subject in the Hiphil stem, God's desire and ability to make us more than we are is something we ourselves participate in, and in the process also cause Him to be more than He would otherwise be. It's a marvelous relationship. It literally transforms the object of the sentence into a secondary subject. What He's saying here is, I'm going to make you just like me. I'm going to make you like God. So all of this empowerment is to make you a secondary subject, to make you like me. That's what the hiphil stem means. Powerful implications of that. Of course, in the imperfect, the powerful implications is this is forever. It's an ongoing process. It only gets better. It only gets greater. This is an ongoing process of every nanosecond being even more marvelous than the previous one throughout the entire fabric of time. And of course, in the cohortative mood, God is saying, this is what I want to do for you as my covenant child. This isn't what God says, okay, I know, to cut a deal with you so that you'll be willing to talk with me and spend some time with me. I know I got to bribe you, so it's not what I want to do, but, by golly, I'm going to give you what you want, even though it's, boy, this idea of empowering you, that's not what I want, because I want to be lording over you. I want you to worship me. I want you down on your knees. No, it's not what God is saying at all. God is saying this is what I want. I want you to grow. I want you to be such that you can walk stride by stride with me. I want you to be engaged in conversation with me, so we go off and explore together, and our discussion is engaging. It's enriching for both of us. I want us to have so much fun together and to learn so much together and explore so much together that every day is this, every moment of eternity is this constant opportunity to grow. That's what eternity is all about. It's what the primary benefit of the covenant is. We grow infinitely in terms of living. We grow infinitely in terms of the quality of this relationship. We grow infinitely in terms of the increase in dimensions. We grow infinitely in terms of our capability of learning, of understanding, of relating, of exploring. We grow infinitely in terms of power. We become like God because it's what He wants. Because we come to want what He wants. We grow together. It is a perfect definition of the reason that we exist and the reason the covenant has been offered to us as a gift.